Saludo, my friends, and welcome back. And for those of you who are just now joining us for the first time, I'm Chef Z, and today we're making Moro de Guandules. Now, this is a rice that I like to call the turnip rice, and hear me out. This is why. This is the moro that you will have at any Hispanic birthday. I'm talking a christening, a birthday party, somebody's 50th, you name it, and this rice will be there. So if you want to learn how to make this rice, then just keep watching. Now, I know I called this rice the turnip rice, but in all seriousness, Moro de Guandules reminds me so much of my grandmother, who's no longer here with us, so may she rest in peace. This is a rice that we had all the times during the holidays, so my mind just immediately goes back to those last Christmases and New Year's when she was still here with us, and she would make this banging, and I'm telling you, this banging pernil with the moro, and it just immediately brings me back to that time. So aside from the fact that we have this rice when we're celebrating pretty much anything, it's a favorite rice of mine because it just immediately takes me back to those times with my grandmother. Now, to make this rice, we're going to need some rice, some guandule, a bunch of peppers, some onions, but most excitingly, I'm using ajicitos. And in my very first YouTube video where I made the sofrito, I actually talked about these peppers and I talked about how they were held up in customs. So I didn't include it in that video. But now, as you can see, they're out of customs. So they're in this recipe, but it's optional. And you can totally replace this with some green bell peppers or even red bell peppers. Now, here are all the ingredients you're going to need for this dish. Feel free to screenshot it and hold on to it as you follow along. So we're going to start off by warming up some oil and then adding some onions, some ajicitos, our cubanelle peppers, and finally our red peppers. And then we're going to give this a stir, and we want to saute this for about 3 to 5 minutes until they become transparent. And what's going to happen is that all these beautiful onions and peppers are going to begin to sweat. And once they start sweating like you see here, we're going to add our chicken bouillon cube, which I always refer to as a sopita here on my channel. And then we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. So the garlic powder, the oregano, the sazon, which you can substitute for paprika, and finally the olives. And we also want to give that a final stir. Now, when I add the sopita, I do try to break it up as much as I can, but if I don't get to it all, I honestly don't even worry because the heat will do the rest of the job for me. Now we're going to add the star of the show, which is the guandules. I like to use canned guandules, and I don't strain too much of the water because I feel like it adds a little bit more flavor. But if you want to strain all of the water, that's totally fine. Now we're going to add the tomato paste. Now, the tomato paste is similar to sopita in the sense that it's kind of hard to dissolve at first, but if you just stir it vigorously like you see me doing here, it'll pretty much start to dissolve. And if you don't get to it all, don't worry. Again, the heat will do the rest of the job for you. Once that starts to boil, I add the water. Now, as a rule of thumb, anytime I'm making rice, I use a 1-to-1 ratio. So if I'm making 2 cups of rice, I'm going to add 2 cups of water. I give that a stir, and once that starts to boil, I then add my rice. Now, as another rule of thumb, anytime you're making rice, be sure to always wash your rice at least 2 to 3 times, drain it, and then cook it. So I've added all my rice here, and then I also mix it thoroughly because I want to make sure that it gets all of the flavor, but more importantly, all of that color. So once I've mixed my rice for a final time, I make sure that it dries just like you see here. And then that's when we add probably one of my favorite cooking ingredients, which is recao. And recao is pretty much cilantro. So whatever you can get your hands on, go ahead and use it. I'm using a mixture of cilantro and culantro. Now let me tell you guys, this herb adds such amazing, fresh, vibrant flavor to the rice. It's, again, a game changer. So I pretty much mix this all in, and then I cover it. And this is really important that you cover your rice and then you turn it to the lowest possible flame setting, and you cook that for about 30 to 45 minutes. And once it's all done, you're gonna wanna fluff up your rice. Look at this. Look at this color. I just want to eat it through the screen. It's amazing. And my favorite way of having this rice is with some pernil on the side. I hope you guys enjoyed my recipe for moro de guandule. And as I mentioned before, this is a moro that you pretty much eat at a birthday party, a sweet 16. Hell, you could even go to a wedding and have this moro. Guys, thank you so much for watching Make to Order La Orden. If you have any questions, you already know, visit my website, chefzcooks.com, or see the description box below. And don't forget to follow me on social media. I'm all over the place. I'm talking Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I have all my information listed for you right here. And if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you click that red button and come back next week when I have an all new video. All right, it's time to eat because this rice is calling my name. I'll see you next week.